Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle despite working twice as hard? What if I told you that the version of you who lives in complete financial abundance exists right now? Not in some distant future, not as some fantasy, but as a state of consciousness you could step into tonight? That's right. At this very moment, as you're watching this video, there is a version of you who doesn't hope for money. This version has money. This version doesn't anxiously check their bank account or worry about bills. This version moves through life as someone to whom wealth flows naturally, abundantly, and effortlessly. And here's the truth that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed that might shake everything you thought you knew about manifestation. This wealthy version of you isn't separated by time, effort, or even worthiness. Has this ever happened to you? You pray for financial abundance, you visualize wealth, you set intentions, yet your bank account stubbornly refuses to reflect your desires? There's a profound reason for this, and it's not what most people think. The only thing separating you from that wealth right now is assumption. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. You see, most of us have been taught to speak to God as beggars when we're meant to speak as heirs. We've been conditioned to pray for money, to ask for abundance, to hope for financial freedom. But in doing so, we're unconsciously affirming our lack. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. It certainly surprised me when I first encountered Scovel Shinn's teachings. The wealthier version of you isn't in some alternate reality you can never reach. It's not locked behind years of hard work or hidden behind some secret you haven't discovered yet. It exists right now in a state of consciousness that is as available to you in this moment as the air you breathe. The difference between where you are financially and where that version of you exists is not action, not time, not circumstance. It is purely assumption. It is purely the inner claim you make about who you are. When you speak to God, or more accurately, when you speak as God through your I am statements, you're not attracting money. That's the fascinating secret. You're becoming the one to whom it was already flowing. What if tonight, instead of begging the universe for more, you simply assumed the consciousness of already having what you desire? What if, rather than focusing on the emptiness of your bank account, you focused on the fullness of your being? The ancient wisdom that Florence Scovel Shinn taught wasn't about getting. It was about being. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to wake up tomorrow morning without a single financial worry. Imagine how differently you would move through your day, what decisions you would make, how you would speak, how you would hold yourself. If these teachings resonated with you, hit that subscribe button to join our community of conscious creators. There's so much more wisdom to explore together on this journey. Think about it. There is a version of you right now who wakes up every morning without a single trace of financial anxiety. This version doesn't stare at the ceiling calculating bills before their feet hit the floor. This version doesn't check their bank account with that familiar knot in their stomach. This version makes decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, seizing opportunities without hesitation, without that voice in the back of their mind whispering, "Can I really afford this?" And here's the hidden truth that transforms everything. This person isn't fictional. This person isn't some future self you're working toward. This abundant version of you exists right now in consciousness. And as Florence Scovel Shinn taught, consciousness is the only reality that truly matters. The journey to financial freedom isn't about changing your outer circumstances first. It's about changing your inner landscape. It's about a profound mindset shift that most people never make because they're too busy looking at the mirror instead of what stands before it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing something that might feel uncomfortable at first, but will ultimately liberate you. Everything you currently see in your outer world, your bank account, your bills, your entire financial situation, is nothing but the hardened past. It's merely the fossilized result of what you used to assume about yourself and your relationship with money. This revelation is powerful because it means your current financial reality has no actual power of its own. It's simply an echo, a shadow, a reflection of who you used to be. The only thing giving it continued existence is your decision to keep reacting to it as if it were the final truth about who you are and what you deserve. But it is not truth. It is echo. The impact of this understanding cannot be overstated. When you truly grasp that what you're seeing is just the crystallized form of past assumptions, you stop giving it authority over your present and future. You realize that your bank balance isn't deciding your worth. You decided it long ago through what you assumed to be true. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this crucial understanding. The reflection has no power to change itself. You cannot negotiate with your circumstances. You cannot convince your bank account to grow. You cannot persuade reality to be different through effort alone. The outer world is a mirror, and a mirror does not think. It does not decide. It does not choose. It simply reflects what stands before it. The decisions you make from this moment forward must come from a different place if you want different results. Not from looking at the reflection and trying to argue with it, but from changing what creates the reflection in the first place, your consciousness. What assumptions about money are you carrying within you right now? What do you truly believe about your worthiness to receive abundance? If your inner dialogue with the divine had a tone, would it be that of an heir or a beggar? Write in the comments, "I am the heir, not the beggar," if this perspective is shifting something within you. This is why so many people remain trapped in the same financial patterns despite reading every book, taking every course, and trying every manifestation technique. They're attempting to change the reflection in the mirror while remaining unchanged themselves. They're arguing with the mirror, negotiating with the reflection, trying to convince it to show something different when the mirror can only show what stands before it. The profound wisdom in Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching is this: the outer world has no choice but to reflect your inner world. Your financial circumstances aren't creating your thoughts and feelings about money. Your thoughts and feelings about money are creating your financial circumstances. Your external reality is simply the echo of your internal assumptions. So if you want to transform what you see in the mirror, there is only one way to do it. You must transform what stands before it. You must change your inner self. You must revise your assumptions about who you are in relation to abundance. This is the secret that most people never learn, and it's why they remain stuck in cycles of lack despite their best efforts. They want more money, but they continue to think like a poor person. They desire abundance, but their inner dialogue is saturated with thoughts of scarcity. They pray for wealth while standing firmly in the consciousness of poverty, and in doing so, they create the very experiences they're trying to escape. The revolution in your financial life begins with a revolution in your consciousness. It's a journey that starts not with changing your actions first, but with changing your assumptions. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is a mindset shift that preceded it, a moment when someone stopped identifying with lack and began to embody abundance before there was any external evidence to support it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by showing you exactly how to implement this wisdom in your daily life. The key is understanding the language of manifestation. Most of us have been taught that prayer is a form of begging, a humble request made to a distant God who may or may not grant our wishes. But this framework has turned every prayer into a confession of lack. Every time you ask for money, you declare that you don't have it. Every time you beg for financial change, you cement yourself in the very condition you're trying to escape. This is why traditional approaches to manifestation often fail. Not because manifestation isn't real, but because we've been approaching it from the wrong angle entirely. The breakthrough comes when you realize that you're not separate from the creative power of the universe. You're not a powerless human pleading with a distant deity. You're an expression of that power itself. And when you begin to speak from That place of power rather than powerlessness, when you assume the identity of the heir rather than the beggar, the entire universe conspires to match your new self-concept. If you've been struggling with financial manifestation, type, "I am the heir to abundance," in the comments if you're ready to claim this new identity. Let me share with you a profound revelation that changed everything for me. Most people experiencing financial struggle are caught in a paradox. They want wealth, but their inner landscape is furnished with the thoughts of poverty. They desire abundance, but every word they speak reinforces lack. They pray for prosperity while standing firmly in the mindset of scarcity. It's like planting tomato seeds while expecting apple trees to grow. The blueprint of your financial reality is not drawn by your wishes or even your actions. It's drawn by your assumptions. People remain trapped in cycles of lack not because they're unlucky, not because they're unworthy, but because they're trying to change the effect without changing the cause. They're trying to alter the shadow without altering what creates the shadow. This is why affirmations alone often fail. You can repeat, "I am wealthy," 1,000 times. But if beneath those words runs the undercurrent of, "But I'm really not," the undercurrent wins every time. Your subconscious doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your conviction, to the feeling tone behind those words. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by showing you exactly how to speak to God, your own I am consciousness, in such a way that money has no choice but to flow to you. Not because you begged for it, not because you earned it, but because you became the person to whom it naturally belongs. This transformation begins with understanding what prayer truly is. Real prayer isn't pleading with an external deity. It's claiming your divine inheritance. It's speaking from the end, as if what you desire is already yours. Florence Scovel. Shinn understood this secret. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. When you say "I am," you are literally invoking the creative power of the universe. You are speaking the name of God, and whatever you attach to those two words becomes your creative command. So when you say, "I am broke," you're not describing your situation, you're creating it. When you say, "I am struggling financially," you're not reporting your circumstances, you're ordering them into existence. The breakthrough comes when you realize that at any moment, you can rewrite this script. You can stand in the authority of your true identity and declare, "I am abundant," not as a hope for the future, but as a present fact. You can claim, "I am wealthy," not as an affirmation, but as a recognition of who you truly are beneath the temporary circumstances. This isn't magical thinking. This is understanding the mechanics of consciousness. Your identity is the control panel for your reality. Change your conception of self, and you change everything that flows from that self. The journey to wealth isn't about getting something you don't have. It's about unveiling what was always yours by divine right. What would change if you stopped trying to attract money and instead embodied the consciousness of someone who naturally receives it? What decisions would you make differently? How would your energy shift? If you're ready to embark on this identity-level transformation, write in the comments, "I am speaking as the heir now." Let me share something revolutionary with you that most spiritual teachers never fully explain. The way we've been taught to pray is actually working against us. Think about it. When you bow your head and say, "God, please send me money," or "Universe, I need financial abundance," what are you really declaring? You're proclaiming your lack. You're announcing to the creative forces of the universe that you don't have what you're asking for. This traditional framework of prayer, this humble, hopeful request made to a distant deity who may or may not grant your wish, has transformed every spiritual conversation into a confession of what's missing from your life. Each time you ask for money, you're cementing yourself in the very condition you're trying to escape. It's like digging yourself deeper into a hole while asking someone to help you climb out. This revelation was one of Florence Scovel Shinn's most powerful insights. She understood that the architecture of manifestation doesn't operate on request and fulfillment. It operates on assumption and embodiment. The universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. And what you are is determined by what you claim to be. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by having you imagine something powerful. Picture yourself standing before the throne of God, and God asks you one simple question: who are you? This is the crossroads where most people's manifestations either succeed or fail. Subscribe to continue this exploration of Florence Scovel Shinn's powerful principles. Each video unveils new dimensions of your creative power waiting to be awakened. Most would answer with their limitations. They would say, I am struggling financially. I am drowning in debt. I am someone who can never seem to get ahead. And in that pivotal moment, they would seal their fate. Because whatever you claim with the words, I am, you command into existence. Your I am statements aren't descriptions of your reality. They're instructions to the universe about what reality to create for you. The watershed moment in your relationship with abundance comes when you realize that standing before that throne, you could answer differently. You could say, I am abundant. I am wealthy. I am someone to whom money flows naturally and effortlessly. And here's the profound truth. In that moment, you would not be lying. You would not be pretending or practicing toxic positivity. You would be claiming your true spiritual identity. You would be speaking as the heir, not the beggar. And the universe would have no choice but to honor that claim. The catalyst for financial transformation isn't found in new actions first. It's found in new assumptions. It's found in the courage to claim an identity that your current circumstances don't yet reflect. It's the willingness to speak from the end result rather than from the current problem. The mindset shift required is subtle but profound. Instead of approaching prayer as a petition, please give me this, you approach it as a recognition. Thank you that this is already mine. Instead of speaking to God as a separate entity who might grant your request, you speak as God, as the I am presence within you, declaring what is true from the highest perspective. If this paradigm shift is illuminating something for you right now, write in the comments. I am speaking my new reality into existence. Here's where the true alchemy of manifestation begins to reveal itself. When you stand before the mirror of the universe and declare, I am wealthy, you're not engaging in wishful thinking. You're not playing pretend. You're not practicing some form of spiritual bypass. You're claiming your birthright. You're speaking as the heir, not the beggar. This distinction is everything. The heir doesn't plead for their inheritance. They claim it. The heir doesn't hope to someday receive what is rightfully theirs. They step into the awareness that it already belongs to them. The heir doesn't speak from a place of unworthiness. They speak from a place of divine entitlement. And when you make this pivot in your consciousness, something extraordinary happens. The universe doesn't see your current bank balance. It sees your energetic signature. It doesn't respond to your history. It responds to your identity. It doesn't calculate what you deserve based on your past. It delivers what matches the frequency you're currently embodying. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what might be the most liberating truth you'll ever encounter on your wealth journey. The throne of God is not somewhere external. That throne is within you. God is not a distant figure you must impress or convince or prove your worthiness to. God is your own awareness of being, the I am consciousness that you carry with you every moment of every day. This revelation shatters the paradigm that keeps most people trapped in lack. They're waiting for approval from an external source before they can claim abundance. They're looking for permission from an outside authority before they can step into prosperity. They're seeking validation from circumstances before they can embody wealth. But what Florence Scovel Shinn understood with remarkable clarity was this. Every time you say, I am, you are sitting on that throne yourself. You are making a decree as the sovereign of your reality. You are commanding the universal laws into action. This isn't metaphor or poetry or inspirational fluff. This is the metaphysical mechanism behind all manifestation. Your consciousness is not simply observing reality, it's creating it. Your awareness is not just experiencing life, it's decreeing it into existence. And when you declare, "I am wealthy," you're not describing a future you hope to experience. You're activating a vibration that must, by universal law, materialize in your experience. The blueprint for your financial breakthrough already exists. The version of you who experiences abundance without effort is already formed in consciousness. The path has already been paved. The only question is, will you claim it as your present reality or continue to defer it to some imagined future? If you've been operating under the assumption that God is outside of you and you're ready to reclaim the throne within, type in the comments, "The throne of abundance is within me." This revelation transforms everything when you truly internalize it. Your consciousness isn't simply aware of reality, it's creating reality. Your mind isn't just observing the world, it's projecting the world. What you assume in consciousness doesn't just influence your experience, it becomes your experience. This isn't metaphor or poetic language or mystical exaggeration. It's literal truth. It's the operating system of the universe. The ancient wisdom that Florence Scovel Shinn taught wasn't just spiritual inspiration. It was a practical blueprint for how reality forms itself around your assumptions. Whatever you claim as your identity in consciousness becomes your experience, first in consciousness, and then, after an interval determined by the intensity and persistence of your assumption, in physical form. The invisible always precedes the visible. The internal always precedes the external. The assumption always precedes the experience. This understanding revolutionizes what we thought prayer was. When you pray to God, you aren't speaking to someone outside of you. You aren't petitioning an external authority. You aren't trying to convince a separate being to grant your request. You're speaking directly to the creative power within you, the same power that beats your heart, grows your cells, and manifests your reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing how this creative power actually operates. It doesn't hear your words. It doesn't analyze your requests. It doesn't judge whether you deserve what you're asking for. It simply reflects your assumptions. It takes what you believe to be true about yourself and makes it manifest in your world. If you assume you are poor, you experience poverty. If you assume you are wealthy, you experience wealth. There is no judgment in this. There is no favoritism. It is pure law. It is mechanical. It is exact. This is why affirmations alone aren't enough. The creative power within you doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your felt assumption, to your inner knowing, to the state of consciousness you're embodying. You can repeat, "I am wealthy," until you're blue in the face. But if your inner assumption is, "I'm really struggling," that deeper assumption will be the one that manifests. The paradigm shift happens when you realize that prayer isn't about convincing God to give you something. It's about convincing yourself that you already have it. It's about entering the state of consciousness where what you desire is already yours. It's about feeling the relief, the gratitude, the naturalness of already being, having, and experiencing what you're praying for. When you enter this state, when you truly feel wealthy before a single penny has changed in your bank account, you've triggered the law of assumption. You've planted the seed in consciousness that must grow into physical form. You've set in motion forces that have no choice but to materialize what you've assumed to be true. If this revelation is shifting how you understand the creative process, write in the comments, "I am the creative power." Let me share with you what might be the most profound revelation in Florence Scovel Shinn's entire body of work. Every time you say "I am," you are literally speaking the name of God. This isn't religious symbolism, it's spiritual mechanics. When Moses asked the burning bush, "Who shall I say sent me?" the response was, "I am that I am." The divine didn't identify itself with a personality or a specific name, but with pure beingness itself, the same pure awareness that constitutes your own consciousness. God is not a being separate from you. God is your own I am consciousness, and it only hardens into form what you assume to be true about yourself. Whatever you attach to those two powerful words becomes your creative command to the universe. When you say, "I am broke," you're not describing your situation. You're decreeing it. When you say, "I am wealthy," you're not affirming a future possibility. You're establishing a present reality in consciousness that must, by law, externalize in your experience. This is the core awakening that transforms someone from a perpetual seeker to a conscious creator. The words, "I am," are not casual phrases, they're creative invocations. They're the chisel with which you sculpt your reality. They're the brush with which you paint your experience. They're the instrument through which the formless becomes form. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by addressing the single biggest mistake that keeps most people trapped in cycles of financial struggle. They believe God is separate from them. They've been conditioned to see the creative power of the universe as external to themselves, a distant deity who must be petitioned, pleased, or persuaded to bestow blessings upon them. This fundamental misunderstanding creates a spiritual framework where you're perpetually positioning yourself as powerless. You're placing yourself in the role of the supplicant rather than the source. You're viewing yourself as the effect rather than the cause. And as long as you maintain this division in consciousness, you'll continue to experience division in your manifestations. The spiritual awakening that precedes financial abundance is the recognition that you are not separate from the creative power. You are not disconnected from the source of all wealth. You are not outside looking in, hoping to be let in. You are it. You have always been it. The only thing standing between you and the experience of wealth is your decision to identify with the limited self rather than the unlimited I am. This mindset transformation doesn't happen intellectually, it happens experientially. It's not about believing new concepts. It's about embodying a new identity. It's not about changing what you think. It's about changing who you are. When you truly grasp that you are the creative principle itself having a human experience, everything shifts. You stop trying to attract money from outside yourself and start expressing wealth from within yourself. You stop begging an external God for financial favor and start decreeing abundance as the God self that you are. You stop positioning yourself as separate from prosperity and start embodying prosperity as your natural state. If you're experiencing a paradigm shift right now as you realize that you've been praying to a power that was within you all along, type in the comments, "I am the power I've been seeking." Now let's address a crucial question that might be arising in your mind. If this process is so simple and powerful, why haven't my previous attempts at manifestation worked? The hidden truth is that manifestation isn't just about the moment of declaration. It's about the consistency of assumption. Many sincere seekers plant the seed of a new financial reality in consciousness, but then dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You declare, "I am wealthy" during your meditation, but then wake up to bills in your mailbox and immediately revert to the state of lack. You assume abundance in the evening, but check your bank account in the morning and abandon that assumption. And so your manifestation never materializes, not because the law failed, but because you didn't give the new assumption time to harden into fact. The universe operates on certainty, not on hope. When you truly assume a state in consciousness, when you fully occupy a new identity, the manifestation of that state isn't something you hope might happen, it's something you know must happen. But this certainty doesn't come from intellectual understanding alone. It comes from feeling. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what Florence Scovel Shinn understood that many modern manifestation teachers miss entirely. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is the language of the subconscious. Your rational mind communicates with words and images, but your subconscious mind, the part of you that's directly connected to the creative power, communicates through feeling. Without the right feeling accompanying your declaration, nothing is impressed upon the creative power within you. You can say the words, "I am wealthy" 1,000 times, but if they're not infused with the genuine feeling of wealth, the relief, the security, the freedom, the expansiveness, They remain empty syllables. They become affirmations without power, declarations without creative force. This is why so many people experience disappointment in their manifestation journey. They claim wealth briefly during their morning routine, but then spend the rest of their day thinking, speaking, and feeling from poverty. They assume abundance for 20 minutes before bed, but maintain the vibration of lack for the other 23 hours and 40 minutes. And in this battle between opposing assumptions, the dominant one always wins. It's like planting a seed of an oak tree in the morning, but then covering it with concrete for the rest of the day and wondering why it isn't growing. The seed of your new financial reality needs consistent nurturing through maintained feeling. It needs the fertile soil of your persistent assumption. It needs the sunlight of your unwavering belief. The transformation occurs when you refuse to be swayed by current circumstances, when you maintain the feeling of wealth despite what your bank account shows, when you persist in the state of abundance regardless of temporary conditions, when you make your assumption so dominant that it drowns out all contradictory evidence. If you've experienced the frustration of manifestations that seem to stall, and you're now understanding the crucial role that persistent feeling plays in the process, write in the comments, "Feeling is my creative power." So let me be very clear about what this means for your financial breakthrough. If you want this to work, if you want to see money flow into your life with the same reliability that water flows through a river, you must persist in the new assumption. You must maintain the state of wealth regardless of what your outer world is showing you. This is where most people falter on their manifestation journey. They dip their toes into the consciousness of abundance, but retreat at the first sign of contradictory evidence. They assume wealth on Monday, but revert to their old financial identity on Tuesday, when an unexpected bill arrives. They claim abundance in meditation, but surrender to scarcity in daily life. True transformation doesn't come from occasional visits to a new state of consciousness. It comes from moving in and fully occupying that state. It requires consistency. It demands that you feel wealthy, not just think about wealth intellectually. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to concepts. It responds to felt experience. It doesn't register what you think. It registers what you feel to be true. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the fundamental principle that guarantees your success if you apply it consistently. When you change your consciousness, your reality must change. Not might change, not could change, must change, because consciousness is the only reality. This isn't wishful thinking or spiritual bypass. It's the mechanics of manifestation. Everything you experience in your outer world began as a state in consciousness. Your current financial circumstances aren't arbitrary or accidental. They're the precise reflection of your previous assumptions. And your future financial circumstances will be the exact externalization of your current assumptions. The inner landscape always precedes the outer experience. The feeling always comes before the fact. The assumption always predates the manifestation. This is why genuine transformation begins not with changing your actions, but with changing your awareness. Not with new strategies, but with new states of being. When you truly commit to living from the end, when you assume the consciousness of already having what you desire, the universe has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new assumption. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. The only variable is the interval between the assumption and its manifestation, which depends on the intensity of your feeling and the consistency of your state. Think of it like this. You're not trying to convince reality to give you more money. You're stepping into the version of you that already has that money. You're not attempting to attract wealth from outside yourself. You're expressing wealth from within yourself. You're not hoping to someday have abundance. You're claiming the abundance that is already yours in consciousness. This alignment between your inner state and your outer experience isn't some mystical coincidence, it's causal. The inner creates the outer. The invisible produces the visible. The consciousness generates the circumstance. If you're ready to take full responsibility for your financial reality by mastering your state of consciousness, write in the comments, "My consciousness creates my wealth." Before we move forward, I want to give you a practical tool that will revolutionize your financial reality starting today. It's something you can implement immediately, something that will begin shifting your manifestation results the moment you apply it. Become the guardian of your inner speech. This might sound simple, but it's actually the master key to financial transformation. Every thought you think about money is a prayer. Every internal conversation is a creative act. Every mental commentary about your finances is a seed being planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious. Most people allow their inner dialogue about money to run on autopilot, unaware that each thought is a blueprint for future manifestation. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't afford that," you're not merely describing your current situation. You're decreeing your future limitation. When you mentally rehearse financial worry, you're not just expressing concern, you're scripting more reasons for concern. When you internally complain about prices, you're not just observing the economy, you're establishing your relationship with money as one of restriction rather than flow. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by showing you exactly how to rewire these automatic thoughts that have been sabotaging your prosperity. Consciousness. The technique is simple but profound. Monitor your inner speech and correct it the moment it contradicts your desired state. Don't allow a single thought about lack to go unchallenged. Don't permit any mental narrative of limitation to continue without revision. Here's how this looks in practice. When you see a price tag and think, "That's too expensive," stop yourself immediately. Replace it with, "I can afford anything I truly desire." When you look at your bank account and feel that familiar knot of fear forming in your stomach, pause. Turn inward and deliberately return to the feeling of abundance. When you think about the future and financial worry begins to creep in, interrupt the pattern. Assume your financial security. Claim it. Feel it. Make it your dominant tone. This constant vigilance might seem exhausting at first, but remember, you're breaking a lifetime of habitual thinking. You're dismantling neural pathways that have been reinforced through years of unconscious repetition. You're rewiring your default financial identity. The initial effort is worth the permanent transformation. The power of this practice comes from understanding that your inner speech creates your outer experience through the law of assumption. Your subconscious mind accepts as true whatever you present to it consistently through feeling and inner conversation. It doesn't distinguish between what you want and what you don't want. It simply manifests whatever you impress upon it through repetition and emotional intensity. By becoming the watchful guardian of your inner dialogue about money, you're essentially taking control of the creative process at its source. You're no longer allowing random thoughts, cultural programming, or temporary circumstances to dictate your financial future. You're consciously selecting the assumptions that will shape your experience. If you're ready to transform your financial reality by becoming the deliberate creator of your inner speech, type in the comments, "I guard my inner wealth conversations." And here's the beautiful revelation that brings all of this together. Your inner speech isn't just commentary on your life. It's actively creating your life. Every thought, every internal conversation, every assumption you maintain about money is like a brushstroke on the canvas of your reality. You're not merely thinking about your circumstances. You're painting them into existence with each mental sentence you speak. This isn't positive thinking in the superficial sense that most people understand it. It's not about plastering a smile over your worries or pretending problems don't exist. It's about understanding the creative mechanism of the universe and working with it deliberately rather than against it accidentally. Assumption is the most powerful creative force in existence. It's the clay from which all experience is molded, and your inner speech is the tool that shapes that clay minute by minute, day by day. The question isn't whether your inner dialogue is creating your financial reality. It absolutely is. The question is whether you're creating consciously or unconsciously. Are you shaping your prosperity deliberately, or are you allowing random thoughts, past conditioning, and current circumstances to dictate your creative process. Make sure your inner speech is shaping the world you want to live in, not the one you're trying to escape. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by addressing a concern that might be arising for you. This sounds exhausting. Do I have to monitor every single thought about money forever? The liberating truth is that this vigilance is temporary. At first, yes, you'll catch yourself in old patterns constantly. You'll notice just how pervasive your limiting thoughts about money have been. You'll be surprised by how automatically your mind reverts to scarcity thinking. But here's the transformative insight. That's perfectly fine. The awareness itself is the first victory. Just notice the old pattern and correct the course. Don't judge yourself, don't get discouraged, and most importantly, don't use your awareness of negative thinking as evidence that this isn't working. The very fact that you're noticing these patterns means the transformation has already begun. Over time, with consistent practice, something remarkable happens. The new assumption begins to take root in your subconscious mind. What once required constant vigilance starts to become your natural state. The thoughts that used to demand deliberate revision begin to change on their own. Your default financial identity shifts from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility, from struggle to flow. It's like learning any new skill. In the beginning, it requires focus, attention, and conscious effort. But with repetition, it becomes second nature. The pathway in your brain strengthens until the new pattern is more dominant than the old one. Your prosperity consciousness becomes your automatic operating system rather than something you have to manually override your programming to access. If you're beginning to see how your financial reality is simply the externalization of your inner speech and you're ready to take ownership of that creative process, drop in the comments, "My words create my wealth." Let me share with you a principle that completely transformed my own relationship with money once I truly understood it. Your statements don't just describe your reality, they create your reality. When you declare "I am poor," you're not merely reporting on your current financial situation. You're issuing a creative command to the universe that poverty is your identity, and the universe must honor that claim. When you say, "I am wealthy," you're not engaging in wishful thinking. You're establishing a new creative premise that will inevitably manifest in your experience. This creation happens in a specific sequence, first in consciousness, then in form. The inner always precedes the outer. The invisible always comes before the visible. The assumption always appears before the manifestation. This isn't a theory or a philosophy, it's law. It's how creation works at the most fundamental level. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this mechanism with remarkable clarity. She recognized that most people have the creative process backward. They believe that once their circumstances change, their consciousness will follow. Once they have more money, then they'll feel abundant. Once their financial problems are solved, then they'll stop worrying. But this reverses the creative sequence. Circumstances don't create consciousness. Consciousness creates circumstances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing why so many sincere prayers for financial abundance go unanswered. Your prayers have been failing not because you lack faith or because the universe is withholding from you. They've been failing because you've been praying from the wrong state entirely. You've been praying from lack, from need, from separation. You've been praying as someone who doesn't have, asking to receive, rather than as someone who already has, expressing gratitude. This revelation completely revolutionizes your approach to prayer. You don't pray for wealth, you pray from wealth. You don't ask to become abundant, you assume you already are. You don't hope for money to come, you rest in the feeling of already having it. This is the awakening that transforms prayer from begging to decree, from request to recognition, from hope to knowing. When you pray from the state of already having what you desire, something profound shifts in your creative process. You're no longer trying to convince God to give you something. You're acknowledging what is already yours by divine right. You're not attempting to attract prosperity from somewhere outside yourself. You're expressing the prosperity that already exists within your consciousness. This paradigm shift is at the heart of every genuine financial breakthrough. It's the essential insight that separates those who remain trapped in cycles of lack from those who experience the flow of abundance. The journey isn't from poverty to wealth, it's from the consciousness of poverty to the consciousness of wealth. And that journey takes place entirely within you, regardless of what your current bank account shows. The remarkable power of this approach is that it aligns you with the way creation actually functions. You're no longer working against the creative laws, you're working with them. You're no longer swimming upstream, exhausting yourself with effort. You're flowing with the current of manifestation, allowing your good to come to you naturally and effortlessly. If this distinction between praying for wealth versus praying from wealth is illuminating a new path for you, share in the comments. I pray from abundance, not for abundance. And when you truly understand this principle of praying from rather than for, something miraculous begins to happen in your experience. When you live from the end, when you operate from the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. It's not optional, it's mandatory. It's not a possibility, it's an inevitability. This is what Florence Scovel Shinn meant when she said that assumed consciousness must objectify itself. When you assume the wish fulfilled, opportunities suddenly appear that weren't visible before. Money flows through channels you couldn't have predicted. Doors open that seemed permanently closed, not because you attracted these things through effort or struggle or even through perfect action, but because you became the person to whom they naturally belong. Think about that revelation for a moment. The wealth you desire isn't something you need to chase, pursue, or hunt down. It's something that naturally belongs to the version of you who embodies the consciousness of abundance. The only journey required is the inner journey from one state of consciousness to another, from the identity of lack to the identity of plenty, from the assumption of struggle to the assumption of ease. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by highlighting the core principle that underlies this entire teaching. Consciousness is the only reality. Your thoughts, feelings, assumptions, and beliefs aren't just influencing your reality. They are your reality. What you experience externally is simply the projection of what exists internally. When you change your consciousness, you change your world. Not because your positive thinking magically rearranges external circumstances, but because there are no external circumstances independent of your consciousness. This insight liberates you from the endless pursuit of changing conditions while remaining unchanged yourself. It releases you from the exhausting effort of trying to rearrange the reflection in the mirror while ignoring what stands before it. It frees you from the futile attempt to experience abundance while maintaining the consciousness of lack. Let me give you a practical application of this truth that you can implement tonight. When you close your eyes to sleep, don't beg, don't plead, don't ask. Simply assume your wealth is already yours. Feel the relief of financial freedom. Experience the naturalness of abundance. Immerse yourself in the sensation of having exactly what you desire. This practice is so powerful because in those moments before sleep, your analytical mind relaxes its grip and your subconscious becomes more receptive. The seeds you plant in consciousness during these precious minutes tend to take root more deeply than those planted during your busy waking hours. Let the last impression you give to your subconscious mind before sleep be that of already having what you desire. Let the feeling of wealth be the lullaby that carries you into dreams. When you saturate your being with this feeling, when you let it permeate every cell of your body, something remarkable happens. You release the desperation, the anxiety, the grasping quality that so often accompanies traditional manifestation efforts. You discover the paradoxical truth that the things we chase most desperately tend to elude us, while the things we already feel we have naturally gravitate toward us. If you're ready to revolutionize your relationship with money by assuming it's already yours, rather than hoping it someday will be, Write in the comments, "I live from the end, not for the end." Beyond those moments before sleep, you must extend this practice into your waking hours as well. During your day, become the vigilant guardian of your inner speech about money. This mindset shift might seem subtle, but its impact on your financial reality is profound. Most people allow their thoughts about money to run on autopilot, unaware that each internal conversation is either reinforcing their current financial situation or creating a new one. Start paying attention to what you're saying to yourself about money throughout the day. Notice the automatic thoughts that arise when you check your bank balance, when you receive a bill, when you see something you'd like to purchase. Become aware of the running commentary in your mind about your financial situation. Is it aligned with where you want to go, or is it keeping you anchored to where you've been? Then, make a conscious decision to correct that inner speech every time it contradicts your desire. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't afford that," pause and revise it to, "I am abundant and I can afford whatever truly serves my highest good." When you notice anxiety about money, stop and redirect your focus to the feeling of financial security. When you find yourself complaining about prices or expenses, shift to gratitude for the resources you do have and the increasing flow coming your way. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by addressing something that might be stirring in your heart as you hear these teachings. Perhaps you're wondering, why hasn't this worked for me before? What's wrong with me that I haven't been able to manifest the wealth I desire? Have I been forgotten or denied by the universe? Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. You are not broken. You have not been forgotten. You have not been denied your good. You have simply been praying from the wrong consciousness. You've been speaking to God as a beggar when you're meant to speak as an heir. This revelation isn't meant to blame you for your past experiences. It's meant to empower you moving forward. The journey of transformation begins with understanding that your financial struggles weren't evidence of your unworthiness or the universe's indifference. They were simply the natural result of the consciousness you were operating from. They were the reflection of your inner dialogue, your assumptions, your identity. The breakthrough comes when you realize that at any moment you can change the conversation. You can step out of the beggar's mindset and into your rightful place as the heir to abundance. You can release the language of petition, "Please give me money," and embrace the language of recognition, "Thank you for the wealth that is already mine." This identity level shift changes everything because you're no longer trying to get something you don't have. You're simply claiming what already belongs to you by divine right. You're not hoping to be worthy of abundance someday. You're recognizing that abundance is your natural state. You're not begging for scraps from a reluctant universe. You're assuming your place at the table of plenty. If you've ever felt that something was fundamentally wrong with you because abundance hasn't flowed into your life, and you're now recognizing that you were simply speaking from the wrong identity, share in the comments, "I am the heir, not the beggar." So here's the question that will determine your financial destiny. When will you claim the feeling of wealth as your own? Most people make the critical error of waiting for circumstances to change before they change their consciousness, waiting for their bank account to show a specific number before they feel abundant, waiting for their financial problems to disappear before they step into prosperity consciousness. But Florence Scovel Shinn's revolutionary insight turns this approach on its head. Don't wait for circumstances to change. Change your consciousness first, and circumstances must follow. Don't wait for permission to feel wealthy. Claim that feeling now as your birthright. Don't wait until you feel worthy of abundance. Assume the feeling of wealth as your present reality and live from it. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of the manifestation journey because it requires you to dismiss the evidence of your senses. It asks you to trust something deeper than what your eyes can see or your hands can touch. It demands that you value the invisible reality of consciousness above the visible reality of current conditions. But this is precisely where your power lies. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing why this approach is so radically different from mere positive thinking or blind faith. This isn't hope in the traditional sense. It's knowing. It's not wishing things were different. It's understanding the causal relationship between consciousness and reality. When Florence Scovel Shinn taught that consciousness is the only reality, she wasn't speaking metaphorically or inspirationally. She was describing the fundamental structure of existence. Everything you experience externally is projected from within. There is no objective reality independent of consciousness. What you see in your outer world is simply the delayed reflection of what you've been holding in your inner world. This revelation transforms everything because it means your financial circumstances aren't happening to you. They're happening from you. They're not imposed upon you from outside. They're expressed from within you. This understanding releases you from victimhood and places you firmly in the Creator's seat. It frees you from the frustration of trying to manipulate external conditions and directs your focus to the one place where genuine change is possible: your own consciousness. When you truly grasp that your consciousness is the only reality, you stop fighting against circumstances and start transforming the awareness that creates them. The spiritual awakening at the heart of financial abundance is the recognition that when you change your consciousness, you change your world. Not because your positive thoughts magically attract good things, but because consciousness is causal. It's primary. It's the source from which all experience flows. Change the source, and you change everything that flows from it. This isn't a matter of belief or faith. It's a matter of law. Just as gravity operates whether you believe in it or not, the law of consciousness operates regardless of your awareness of it. Your financial reality right now is the precise manifestation of your consciousness about money. Not what you wish it were, not what you hope for, but what you truly assume to be true at the deepest level. If this paradigm shift from hoping things will change to knowing you're changing them through consciousness is resonating within you, write in the comments, consciousness creates reality. And this knowing leads to perhaps the most liberating revelation of all. You are the creator, not in some abstract philosophical sense, but in the most literal, practical way. You are the active, conscious creator of your financial reality. Now that you understand this truth, you can never again be a genuine victim of circumstance. You can never truly blame the economy or your background or your luck or anything outside yourself for your financial situation. This isn't about taking on blame for past struggles. It's about claiming your creative power moving forward. It's about recognizing that you have always been the author of your financial story. You've just been writing it unconsciously rather than consciously. You've been creating by default rather than by design. You've been using your creative power to manifest limitation rather than abundance. The transformation begins when you accept full responsibility for your creative role. Not with guilt or shame, but with the exhilaration that comes from recognizing your own power. When you truly understand that you are the creator, financial anxiety dissolves because you realize that the same consciousness that created your current circumstances can create new ones. The same mind that manifested limitation can manifest abundance with equal ease when it operates from a different assumption. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the hidden truth about how money actually comes to you. The revolutionary insight that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered is that money doesn't come because you asked well. It doesn't come because your vision board was particularly beautiful or because your affirmations were perfectly worded. It comes because you became the person it was already seeking. This shifts everything about the manifestation journey. You're not trying to attract money to you. You're becoming the person to whom money naturally flows. You're not attempting to pull abundance toward you through effort or strategy or even perfect spiritual practice. You're stepping into the identity that abundance is already seeking. Think of it like this. Money is like water, and it flows along certain channels. Most people spend their lives trying to redirect the river, fighting against the current, building elaborate dams and diversions to force money to come their way. But what if, instead of trying to change the river's course, you simply moved to where the river already flows? What if, instead of trying to convince money to come to you, you became the person it was already trying to reach? This identity level shift changes everything. Change your state, your inner assumption, your consciousness, your self-concept, and money has no choice but to find you. It's not personal or emotional. It's law. It's as reliable as gravity. When you embody the consciousness of wealth, wealth must manifest in your experience, because the outer must conform to the inner. The reflection must match what stands before the mirror. This is why all genuine financial transformation is identity transformation. It's not about doing abundance. It's about being abundance. It's not about attracting wealth. It's about embodying wealth. It's not about becoming worthy of prosperity. It's about recognizing that prosperity is already seeking you as its natural expression. If you're ready to stop chasing money and start becoming the person it's already looking for, write in the comments, "I am money's destination, not its pursuer." So if you've been following closely, if these words have resonated within you, if you've felt something shift in your consciousness as we've explored these principles together, I want to ask you, what assumption are you choosing to live from now? This isn't a casual question. This is the defining moment where intention becomes creation. The assumption you consciously select and emotionally embody becomes the seed from which your new financial reality grows. Take a moment right now, not just to intellectually consider this question, but to feel into your answer. What state are you claiming as your new reality? Are you ready to assume that you are wealthy, that you are abundant, that you are someone to whom money flows naturally and effortlessly? Are you willing to make this your dominant state, not just during meditation or visualization, but throughout your day? The declaration you make within the sanctuary of your own consciousness is the most powerful creative act you can perform. It's more potent than any action you could take, any strategy you could implement, any plan you could execute, because the declaration establishes the identity from which all your actions, strategies, and plans will flow. It sets the tone for your entire manifestation journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing that this principle, this living from the end, rather than for the end, extends far beyond money. The law of assumption that Florence Scovel Shinn taught applies to every dimension of your experience: health, relationships, purpose, career, spiritual fulfillment. Whatever you assume to be true about yourself in any area of life must externalize in your experience. If you assume vibrant health as your natural state, your body responds accordingly. If you assume loving relationships as your default experience, your connections transform. If you assume purposeful work as your birthright, opportunities for meaningful contribution appear. The principle never changes, though the application varies with the context. This revelation points to something profound about your true nature. There is much more power within you than you have ever imagined. Most people have been taught to see themselves as limited beings, separate from the creative force of the universe, subject to external conditions they cannot control. But what if the opposite is true? What if you are the creative force itself, having a human experience? What if the power that creates worlds is not something outside you, but something that constitutes your very being? This understanding transforms your approach not just to manifestation, but to life itself. You're not trying to get something from the universe. You're expressing something as the universe. You're not attempting to attract from outside. You're creating from within. You're not hoping to receive from a source separate from you. You're flowing as the source itself. The journey of awakening to your creative nature isn't about gaining something new. It's about remembering something ancient. It's about recognizing the power that has always been yours, the creative capacity that has always resided within you, the divine inheritance that has always belonged to you by virtue of what you are. As you begin to live from this recognition, as you allow this truth to penetrate not just your intellect, but your felt experience, every aspect of your life transforms. Not because you're doing more or trying harder, but because you're operating from a completely different premise about who and what you are. If you're beginning to sense the vastness of your creative capacity beyond just financial manifestation, share in the comments, I am ready to create from within, not attract from without. So let's bring all of this wisdom together in a way that you can apply immediately in your life. You are not broken. You are not flawed. You are not being punished or denied your good. You've simply been praying from the wrong state. You've been speaking to the creative power within you from a consciousness of lack rather than a consciousness of abundance. And now that you understand this, everything can change. Think about the profound paradigm shift that happens when you truly grasp that you are the creator, not the beggar. The world isn't withholding from you. It's reflecting you. Your financial circumstances aren't happening to you. They're happening through you. They're not random or arbitrary. They're the precise echo of your inner assumptions about who you are in relation to money. This revelation is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because it means you can no longer blame external factors for your financial situation. Empowering because it means you have the ability to transform that situation through a simple, though not always easy, shift in consciousness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the fundamental mechanics of how money actually comes to you when you speak to God rightly. When you assume that wealth is already yours, when you embody the feeling, the naturalness, the certainty of already having what you desire, something remarkable happens. The entire universe begins to conspire to make your assumption a reality. This isn't magical thinking or wishful dreaming. It's the precise operation of consciousness as the primary creative force. When you live from the assumption that you already have what you desire, you activate a different set of perceptions, recognize different opportunities, make different decisions, take different actions. Your entire relationship with reality transforms because you're perceiving and engaging with it from a different state of being. The breakthrough insight that Florence Scovel Shinn shared is that money doesn't come because God gives it to you as a reward for good behavior or as a response to fervent prayer. Money comes because you aligned with the consciousness of already having it. You stepped into the version of you that experiences wealth naturally. You became the person that abundance was already seeking. This spiritual technology works with mathematical precision. It's not subject to moods or whims or favoritism. It's pure law. When you assume in consciousness that you are wealthy, when you maintain that assumption regardless of contradictory evidence, when you make it your dominant state rather than an occasional visit, money must flow to you. Not because you're special or because you've found some metaphysical loophole, but because you're working with rather than against the creative mechanism of the universe. The journey of manifestation isn't about convincing the universe to give you something new. It's about aligning with what's already yours by divine right. It's not about becoming wealthy in the future. It's about claiming the wealth that already exists in the eternal now of consciousness. It's not about hoping for change. It's about embodying the change you desire to see. If you're experiencing a profound shift in how you understand the relationship between your consciousness and your financial reality, type in the comments, "I am the consciousness of wealth in expression." As we come to this moment of closure, I want to thank you for staying with me through this exploration of timeless wisdom. What you've learned today isn't just information. It's a complete paradigm shift about how reality works and your role in creating it. If these teachings from Florence Scovel Shinn have resonated with you, if you felt something awaken within you as we spoke about the power of your consciousness, I invite you to join our community of conscious creators. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to continue this journey of transformation together. Each week, we go deeper into these principles, exploring how to apply them not just to money, but to every dimension of your experience. The power you've discovered today is just the beginning of what's possible when you truly understand who you are. If this message found its way to you at exactly the right moment in your life, leave a comment saying, "Divine timing brought me here." I read every comment and connect with this community daily. It's where we grow and evolve together. If this video added value to your life, a simple like is a powerful way to help others discover these teachings too. It's amazing How one small action can create ripples that reach someone who might be searching for exactly this wisdom. I've created a video that takes these principles even further, showing you how to apply the law of assumption to transform your relationships just as powerfully as your finances. Click right here to continue your journey with me. Remember, you are not separate from the creative power of the universe. You are that power in expression. And when you speak to God rightly, not just money, but everything you truly desire must come.